Is there any possibility that the president would end up pardoning his son?
No.
Well, is there?
How's everybody doing? My name is Anthony Brian Logan, and today we got to talk about President Joe Biden's son, Hunter Biden, being indicted on not one, not two, but 3 federal gun charges. Now, this comes after the whole laptop thing was revealed, and on the laptop, we saw him high on drugs, handling a weapon. Before we get into the 10 for the big guy, the laptop, and what Joe may do, let's back up a little bit to go back to the origin of the gun charges. In 2018, he purchased a weapon legally, but he lied on the background check because we all know, again, from the laptop, that Hunter Biden is or was a crackhead. We saw him on the tape literally smoking crack. If you are a crackhead, you cannot legally purchase a firearm because you're going to fail the background check. Are you a substance abuser? Are you going to have your gun and at the same time use controlled substances like crack cocaine, heroin, meth, or whatever? That is illegal. And just from lying on the background check, that carries a max penalty of 10 years in the penitentiary and a $250,000 fine. And guess who was the spearhead behind that legislation? None other than his father, then Senator Joe Biden, 1993. He was the one that put that into law. Now, let's skip forward a little bit. There was a plea deal on the table for Hunter Biden, and this plea deal was so sweet, it was unreal. Anybody else, just a regular normie, even the politician, if you weren't really high up on the food chain, anybody else would have already been in the penitentiary. Let me explain the plea deal, then we're going to move forward. The plea deal had misdemeanor tax charges in there because he was a tax evader. He paid his money but didn't file for 2 years. So 2 charges for that. Then there was the federal gun charges, and there was immunity from future charges because you still got the whole laptop thing going on. 10 for the big guy, failing to register as a foreign agent, a FAR violation, all kind of stuff in the current ongoing right now investigation that he was going to get immunity from. They wanted all that in the plea deal, and he was going to face no prison time, no jail time, no nothing. It was going to be some diversion plan. Now, when the judge got it to sign off, I guess the thought process from the people that run things in the government, okay, the judge will just play along. It's the president's son, no big deal. But then the judge got a little bit curious, like, hey, wait a minute. You guys want all of this in the plea deal and immunity for future charges? Is he still being investigated? The judge began to ask questions, and Hunter's team could not answer the questions properly. Therefore, the plea deal fell apart, and now he's being indicted on the gun charges. Now, before I go any further, let's look at this question from Marjorie Taylor Greene. Very good question. She gives the headline at first, breaking: Hunter Biden has been indicted on 3 counts of federal gun charges. But the question is, but where are the indictments for tax fraud? Remember, he has the tax charges, which has been misdemeanors for some reason, the FAR abuse. So when you go overseas and you're acting as a foreign agent, essentially for the U.S., when you invoke your father in certain business deals, 10 for the big guy, all that stuff, see, that's a violation right there. Even if you're not going to say that it was corrupt, that he was able to get money from Burisma Holdings and these other companies, you still have to register as a foreign agent. And when you don't, that's a violation. That's a crime. Money laundering, again, 10 for the big guy, and trafficking, because he was doing some things on those tapes, and some of the girls kind of appeared to be underage. They were, working women, allegedly. So all those charges are still kind of floating out there, but at least we have the federal gun charge. And again, if any normie out there violates these gun charges, they're going to the penitentiary. And if he gets off from the gun charges, I don't want to hear one more word from the left or anybody else about common sense gun laws and gun control. Okay, you're talking about background checks. He literally lied on the background check. Lying on the background check is a crime. if he doesn't go to the penitentiary, I'm not trying to hear one more word about gun control. Now, let's keep on going here. We have an article, but mainly a video. If you want to see this video and read the article, link, as always, will be in the description box. But without further ado, let's go ahead and roll it.
Here with breaking news, President Biden's son Hunter has been indicted on federal gun charges. It marks the first time a sitting president's son has been indicted on federal gun charges. Hunter has pleaded not guilty to the charges, but was originally planning to plead guilty as part of a deal that would have dismissed gun charges, but that deal fell through in court back in July. Let's go to Ryan Nobles now on Capitol Hill, who can tell us more about what has transpired. Ryan?
Lester, that's correct. Hunter Biden now facing 3 criminal counts related to that gun charge. And this came after the deal that was initially struck with federal prosecutors and Biden's legal team fell apart during a plea hearing in July. And part of the reason that this plea arrangement fell apart were these gun charges. Hunter Biden was scheduled to take part in a pretrial diversion program that would have allowed him to avoid these charges. But the judge in the case was very concerned about the parameters connected to that diversion program, specifically that she would be responsible for monitoring Biden's activity. That began her asking very serious questions about the.
Why would a judge be responsible for monitoring his activity? That doesn't make any sense at all. And then I'm going to pause it right here for a moment just to give an observation or to answer a question that some of you guys may have. Some may be asking, hey, ABL, this is Hunter Biden, not Joe Biden. How does it relate to Joe Biden? First of all, if not for Joe Biden being who he is, then Hunter will already be in the penitentiary. Lying on the background check, off rip, that's 10 years max, $250,000 fine. Just from that alone, not even mentioning the tax fraud allegations, not even mentioning possessing the weapon while under the influence of drugs, not even mentioning allegedly throwing the gun off behind a dumpster in Wilmington, Delaware, not even mentioning the alleged underage abuse of girls, not even mentioning any of that. Just for lying on the background check, 10 years off rip. So if not for his father, he would have already been in the penitentiary, point blank period. And you have the laptop 10 for the big guy. So Joe is allegedly involved with Hunter Biden and his criminal activity. So this most certainly has something to do with the president, Joe Biden. Absolutely. He cannot divorce himself from it. And as I played in the beginning, Karine Jean-Pierre said that Joe would not that Joe would not pardon Hunter. So if he does it, now we got people lying, it'd be totally corrupt. And of course, we have an election coming up, and Joe is the front runner for the Democratic Party. Nobody else is really challenging him. You got RFK, Marianne Williamson, but he's the front runner. So this most certainly involves Joe, 100%. Let's keep on going.
Plea arrangement in general. The two sides could not come to an agreement, and the judge did not accept those plea arrangements. That led to the special counsel in this case, David Weiss, who was originally the U.S. attorney, being given special counsel status by the Attorney General, Merrick Garland, giving him the complete purview to continue the investigation into Hunter Biden and then hand down charges if he thought it was necessary. He signaled a week or two ago that there would be charges coming down and that they would come by the end of the month, and he has made good on that promise by filing these charges today through a grand jury. These 3 charges are connected to that gun charge. 2 of the counts are specifically related to the accusation that Hunter Biden lied on an application for a gun permit. And specifically, what the law states is that you cannot be an active drug user while applying for a gun permit or the use of a gun.
See, what they're not talking about right here, the media, they're very good at what they do. Because the media always, when you're talking about gun control, they always push background check, background check, background check. What Hunter did was lie on a background check. That's what he did. He lied on the background check. So if they don't convict him for this, then the whole background check thing is completely irrelevant.
And so the first 2 counts are related to that. And then the third count has to do with the fact that he made a false claim that he was not using drugs during that period of time. Now, the original charge had with it a significant amount of jail time if convicted, perhaps up to 10 years. We're still working out the details as to whether or not those penalties would apply to this specific indictment as well if it is successfully prosecuted by the special counsel's office. But of course, Lester, it comes against the backdrop of enormous political pressure that has been put on the special counsel in this case, David Weiss, and of course the political pressure that is now on the White House as it relates to this. Earlier this week, the House Speaker Kevin McCarthy announcing a formal impeachment inquiry into the President of the United States, specifically related to his son's activities, questions around whether or not there was influence peddling from the vice president's office through Hunter Biden and his business dealings while he was serving as vice president. To be clear, House Republicans who've been investigating this case now for some time have yet to deliver any hard evidence that connects the president at all to his son's business dealings. But this complicates the political posture for the president heading into a re-election bid that his son, now, as you rightly point out, the first sitting president to face criminal charges in a situation like this.
So there you have it. Hunter Biden, 3 federal gun charges, and should go to the penitentiary just for the one charge of lying on the background check, saying that you're not a drug user, you're not on illicit drugs, and you are. You have evidence of that. The laptop told everything right there. They were trying to hide that laptop with all their heart and soul. They were trying to hide it. Remember the whole thing about all the intelligence officials writing a letter talking about, oh, this is classic Russian disinformation. Remember that whole thing? Now we know that it's real, that is Hunter Biden on the tape, smoking crack, linking up with women of the night, possibly allegedly with underage girls, all kind of stuff going on, and Joe's involved allegedly. But as I close, I want to say this: lock him up. The evidence is clear. The evidence against Donald Trump, not so much. They're trying to get him on some January 6th stuff, but he already got impeached for that, which was this. It's a similar process as a criminal trial, and he beat the impeachment. So if the federal government itself can't convict you, then how would he get tried and convicted and upheld on the lower court? It makes no sense. So lock this guy up. It's obvious what happened. And if he doesn't get locked up, again, I'm not trying to hear one more word from anybody about common sense gun control, because the laws that are on the books to prevent crackheads, dangerous people, violent people from having weapons are not being followed when your father is a president or some other big and important and powerful person. But I think I'll leave that right there for now. And what say you? Do you think that Hunter Biden will go to the penitentiary? Should he go to the penitentiary? Whatever your thoughts on the whole situation are, let me know in the comments below. You guys know where I'm at. Hunter Biden most certainly should be in the penitentiary, making big rocks into little rocks for sure. If I or any of you watching this would go to the joint for lying on the background check, then so should he. But whatever your thoughts are, please let me know in the comments below. And that's all I got to say for this video. If you like what you heard, please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. Peace.